Hello everyone. I hope you are all doing well. Welcome to today's video where I am going to compare two of the hottest new foundation releases. I will be putting Charlotte Tilbury's Charlotte's Beautiful Skin Foundation up against the NARS Light Reflecting Foundation. I do already have a video on my channel where I give my first impressions. It's not a full dedicated review of the Beautiful Skin Foundation, but I do test it out for the very first time on camera in my Testing Hot New Makeup Releases video that I will have linked below in the description box. That was the first time I had ever used the foundation, and I did promise my viewers a follow-up. So you can consider this a follow-up, but I'm going to speak about it even more at the end of the month when I do my monthly favorites and fails. The NARS Light Reflecting Foundation came out, I think, about a week after the Charlotte Tilbury foundation did. And since then, I have seen quite a few comparisons over on other social media platforms. And to be honest with you, I did not watch them because I wanted to do this comparison video with an open mind without being sort of swayed in any direction by what I've seen in other reviews. And a lot of my viewers, both here and on Instagram, have been asking me to review this foundation. So I thought, why not put them up against each other? I'm going to compare the coverage, the finish, the longevity, but let's start with the basics of each. The Charlotte Tilbury Charlotte's Beautiful Skin Foundation comes in 30 shades and retails for $44 for 1 fluid ounce. The claims are that it is a 16-hour natural glow foundation that smooths pores, blurs other imperfections, and also hydrates and brightens the skin. It says here that in a daily test held over 4 weeks, 312 people reported a 181% increase in visible plumpness and smoothness, a 166% increase in hydration, and a 285% increase in radiance. Charlotte Tilbury is also Leaping Bunny approved cruelty-free, which I know is of utmost importance to a lot of you. And Charlotte Tilbury does say that this foundation is best for normal, dry, or combination skin. Moving on to the NARS Light Reflecting Advanced Skincare Foundation. Now this one comes in 36 shades and retails for $49 for 1 fluid ounce. This foundation also claims to be an advanced skincare makeup hybrid that has a natural finish that quickly blurs imperfections while visibly improving skin's clarity over time. So both products do claim to improve your skin over time. I know some people dislike when YouTubers read off of websites, but I cannot remember all of this information, unfortunately. It does say here that this breathable, medium coverage, buildable foundation quickly conceals visible redness, blemishes, and dark spots while blurring the look of wrinkles, pores, and texture, powered by 70% skincare ingredients for visibly improved clarity, plus light reflecting complex for enhanced luminosity. The up to all-day wear formula is suitable for most skin types, including sensitive. And in a 6-week clinical study of 31 women, it improved the appearance of skin clarity over time, even after makeup was removed. NARS is not cruelty-free, so that is one big point of difference. Now I want to get to what you probably clicked on this video for, to find out if these foundations are different, how different they are, if indeed they are different, and which one should you choose if you're on the fence between the two? Should you choose any? Let's find out. Okay, I am prepared to lose a few of you by saying what I'm going to say right off the bat. I have oily skin. Neither one of these foundations claim to be ideal for oily skin. Typically, dewy, radiant foundations are not the best choice for someone with oily skin, especially if you live in a humid climate, because throughout the day, your skin gets oily enough. It gets shiny enough. Why would you want to put on a foundation that just makes things look a lot worse? There is a line between looking glowy and fresh and overly greasy, at least in this oily girl's opinion. The last thing I want is for my face to look like I just dipped it in a vat of Crisco. Hopefully, if you do have normal to dry or very dry skin, you'll still stick around and see what the results of my all-day wear test are. It could still be helpful to you. So I'm going to start off by showing you the foundation application, but first I want to show you some swatches. I will have them all labeled at the bottom of your screen. I swatched these all on my arm because I was trying to find two shades that matched up the closest to one another. Being that I don't own all of the shades in both foundations, I had to do the best I could with what I had. And in my eyes, Charlotte Tilbury's Beautiful Skin Foundation in 4W most closely matched the NARS M1 Punjab. Those are the shades that I will be using in this demo. Okay, I'm starting by applying this Makeup Forever Pore Minimizing Primer over my entire face. Actually, I shouldn't have said my entire face. I really just focused this on my T-zone, where my pores are very large. And this primer does an excellent job of making them disappear. I'm starting with the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Foundation in 4W. I'm applying that to the left side of my face. And I usually apply this foundation with my fingers, but for the sake of this testing, I'm going to apply both with a sponge. So now I'm applying 4W onto this side of my face, and wow, that's a good match. I haven't tried this shade before. I think in my testing hot new makeup video, I used 6N. So that's a good match for me when I've been using a self-tanner, but this appears to be a really good match for my actual skin tone. I love the way this goes on. It's just so beautiful. It has such a beautiful finish. It offers medium coverage. You can build the coverage with this foundation. I have some discoloration in this area that I like to cover a little bit more, so I'm going to go back in and do another layer just right here. I don't know what this is. It just appeared out of nowhere and it keeps getting darker. I suppose I should get it checked out. Any type of mole or new blemish that isn't really a blemish, like a pimple, it worries me because my mother had skin cancer a couple of years ago. So I will get that checked out. Okay, I think it looks pretty good. So now moving over to the NARS Light Reflecting Foundation. This is also in a pump bottle. I always shake up my foundations before I use them. And now I'm going to grab another sponge. And once again, I'm using two different sponges. They do need to be cleaned. I just used them yesterday and I used them for these foundations. I've been testing them out individually for the last couple of days. So yes, I do need to clean my sponge, but I specifically set aside which sponge went with which foundation. So I'm putting the same amount of the NARS on my sponge as I did the Charlotte Tilbury. I will say that the Charlotte Tilbury pumps out more product at one time than the NARS. This is definitely more of a neutral shade. It's less yellow, but that's because I chose for warm, so that makes sense. The Charlotte Tilbury blends out a little bit easier. I guess you would say a little bit goes a long way with the Charlotte Tilbury, whereas the same amount of the NARS didn't quite go as far. Yeah, I think you can definitely tell, at least in my mirror here, that this side is more neutral, this side is more warm. I do feel like I need to add a little bit more. It just didn't cover the same area. I didn't get my forehead. But then again, I didn't measure how much I pumped out of each, and this one does pump out more. So I don't know if you can tell on camera in this light. I will be doing some footage. I will be filming some footage with my iPhone shortly. But the Charlotte Tilbury side is definitely glowier, which depending on your skin type could be a good thing or a bad thing. So yes, I'm continuing to blend everything out so it's nice and seamless. This Stands Out sponge is my holy grail. I love it so much. Something I'm noticing today that I haven't noticed before, the Charlotte Tilbury seems to be oxidizing just a little bit and going even warmer. Here is the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin and the new NARS Light Reflecting Foundation. Now I want to get some footage in natural light with my phone, and then I'm going to apply the rest of my makeup, show you footage once that's all done. I am going to set this with a little dusting, a light dusting of my Rare Beauty loose powder. And then about 3 to 4 hours from now, I will do a check-in. And then also at about the 8 or 9 hour mark, I will do another check-in. Okay, here are both foundations in natural light using my iPhone. Either I didn't blend the foundation well on my left side or it just didn't stick to the area around my nose. The other side around my nose I think looks pretty good. Overall, I think they look very similar when it comes to the coverage level and the finish. This is after I completed my makeup, and as I mentioned, I added a little bit of powder to set everything, and I think it looks really good. I do not think that you would be able to tell that I was wearing two different foundations. Looking at this now though, I do feel like the NARS looks a little bit smoother.
Okay, it's been about 5 hours since I applied the foundations. I think that they appear very similar. They've both held up the same. I think I have equal amounts of shine on both sides. These are both more dewy, radiant foundations versus matte, so that is to be expected on someone with oily skin. I'm sure if I powdered, things would look pretty good. I don't think I'm excessively shiny. The first time I tried the Charlotte Tilbury and I did this sort of check-in thing for another video, I was definitely more shiny at this point, but I think perhaps the primer helped with that. I did not use a primer the first time I did a sort of review of this foundation. I really can't see any difference. I'm gonna go look in another mirror. I think they both look good aside from the shine. I'm happy with both.
Okay, so this was after about 9 hours. It's obviously dark outside, so I felt like I needed to use my ring light so you could see anything at all. I feel as if they're both long wearing. However, on my oily, textured skin, the NARS is definitely performing better. It's not quite as shiny. It seems to be smoothing things out a little bit more. Again, I don't think anyone would think I was wearing two drastically different products on my face, but at this point, I did start to see a little bit of a difference. So let's talk about those differences. I obviously alluded to them in those little check-ins. I do feel like the NARS is a little bit more of a natural finish versus radiant or dewy finish. Neither one of these are matte, so if you are looking for a matte foundation, you probably wouldn't have even thought to purchase these anyway. But if you are someone who wants to sort of venture into a more radiant foundation because you feel like they do look a little bit more youthful, especially on mature skin, but you don't want to be too glowy, I would go for the NARS. If you have more normal to dry skin and don't have a lot of texture, I think that the Charlotte Tilbury is the winner. If you do have oily skin and you want to try this beautiful skin foundation from Charlotte Tilbury, I definitely think you need to consider a few things. One, that you will have to use a primer underneath it, an oil controlling primer or a pore smoothing primer, some sort of primer underneath this for it to wear as long as you probably want it to wear. Two, you are going to have to be prepared to blot if you don't want to look excessively shiny. But if your motto is the glowier the better, then you might not want to powder. I personally felt like I needed to powder really, really often with this foundation. So, do I think this is a wonderful choice for someone with oily skin? No, I don't. Especially if you live in a humid climate. I have friends that live in Louisiana, that live in Florida. I would not recommend this foundation to them at all if they have oily skin. The NARS Light Reflecting would be a much better choice in those instances. If you are combo to oily and you live in a humid climate, this one you could definitely try. I still think that you would most likely need to blot several times throughout the day, but it wouldn't be nearly as often as you would need to with the Charlotte Tilbury. I also feel like the NARS is a little bit more smoothing. It was not super noticeable in those check-ins, but I did go around to different mirrors in my home and looked as closely as possible, and the NARS side was just smoother. So for textured skin, this is the winner. Now, as far as the price goes, I really don't think that if you are someone who is looking in the range of a $40 to $50 foundation, this is going to matter that much to you anyway. I could see it mattering if we were talking about a $20 foundation versus a $50 foundation, but there's only about a $5 difference between these two. But I completely understand if for some people that does make a difference in which one they decide to try. Because as I said towards the beginning of the video in the demo, the Charlotte Tilbury is much more spreadable. A little bit goes a long way with this foundation. So you will likely have this foundation longer because you will use less to cover your entire face. So this one is a little bit less expensive and it will probably last longer. I think the most important thing though when deciding between the two is your skin type. If you have more textured skin, as I said moments ago, I would go for the NARS. If you have more oily skin and you still want something that is a little bit radiant, I would go for the NARS. If you have dry to very dry skin and you want as much glow as possible, you want something that's cruelty-free, you want something that is going to perfect your skin even more over time, then I would choose the Charlotte Tilbury. I do hope I covered everything. If I didn't, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to leave those for me down below in the comments. I will try to answer as many as I can. If you did enjoy this video and found it even a little bit helpful, I would appreciate it if you gave the video a thumbs up. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, I hope you will consider doing so. All you need to do is hit that subscribe button. I also post content regularly on Instagram and TikTok under the same username, Risa Does Makeup. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope to see you in my next video.